If you are involved in this protest, we will actively look to identify you and follow up with financial sanctions and criminal charges. Absolutely.
The Ottawa Police Force is blocking our Rebel News investigation into what they said about the convoy to Ottawa's fundraising efforts and to whom they may have said it. Today, I'll show you their document response to us, and then I'm telling you what we're going to do next.
We're monitoring the coverage. One of the tactics that the protesters and demonstrators are using is misinformation, information that is inaccurate, information that misleads the public. We're actively tweeting and providing information out through social media and other media mechanisms in order to be able to try and get accurate, factual information around what is going on within the protest without actually divulging any police tactics.
The Ottawa Police Force is currently stonewalling our investigation into their treatment of the online fundraising platforms GiveSendGo and GoFundMe in relation to the convoy to Ottawa. Now, for context, the convoy to Ottawa was a completely peaceful, nearly 4-week-long protest that remained in our nation's capital to protest COVID restrictions. The whole thing grew out of a cross-border vaccination mandate for truckers, but quickly became an avatar against the COVID lockdown for everybody in our great nation. Now, the people who came to Ottawa started fundraising on GiveSendGo until Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson accused the fundraising efforts of being fraudulent and illegal.
Well, it's $800,000 a day for police costs alone, and then probably a couple $100,000 in overtime costs for public works, bylaw, paramedics, and so on. So it's very expensive, and our taxpayers shouldn't be paying for this nonsense. We've asked our city solicitor to see what can be done with the GoFundMe fund that they've raised over $8 million, whether that can be tapped into to pay for some of these extraordinary expenses caused by these truckers,
prompting GoFundMe to cancel and then try to disperse the millions of dollars raised to an initiative of the company's choosing before outrage from the public prompted them to return the money to the donors. A second fundraising effort was done on the GiveSendGo platform before the Ontario government stepped in to try to confiscate the money in a court order. GiveSendGo, to their credit, told the government to basically stuff it and then returned all the money to the donors. Now, we wanted to know about the police involvement here. We know Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson told GoFundMe and GiveSendGo to deplatform the truckers. One company complied, the other one didn't. But what were the police saying? Were they agreeing with the politicians here, or were they actually trying to talk some sense?
If you are involved in this protest, we will actively look to identify you and follow up with financial sanctions and criminal charges. Absolutely.
So we filed 2 separate access to information requests. We were trying to catch the information we wanted 2 different ways. We do this all through your generous crowdfunding donations to our access to information website, rebelinvestigates.com. So first, we asked for any of the communications with GoFundMe and with GiveSendGo regarding the convoy. Then we asked for any of the police's communications about GiveSendGo and GoFundMe in relation to the convoy. We did this for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I wanted to know what sort of things the Liberals were asking the Ottawa Police to do or say to GiveSendGo and GoFundMe. Were the Liberals and that awful Jim Watson trying to intimidate these companies through the police force? And were the Liberals looking for talking points from the police to use in the media? And we wanted to know what communications the police had directly with these companies. Were the police accusing them of fraud the way Jim Watson did? Did the police ever accuse them of fraud, or is that just a Liberal fabrication helped along by the likes of Ottawa's awful Mayor Jim Watson? Well, we just got a response back from the Ottawa Police, and that response is that we will be getting no information. Even though there have been no public fraud charges against these companies and no indication of even an investigation forthcoming, and even though both companies have testified at a House of Commons hearing about the invocation of the Emergencies Act regarding their communications with the government and the police aren't turning over the information that we want so we can see it for ourselves. Now, here are the reasons the police gave us. The first reason is that the police say it's going to damage an ongoing investigation. But in fact, it's not the Ottawa Police that want to investigate GoFundMe for being a fundraising platform for the Ottawa convoy. It's Republican governors like Ron DeSantis who want to investigate GoFundMe for fraudulently canceling the fundraising efforts of the convoy for political censorship reasons. Now, the second reason the police give is that they say it could be harmful to the government of Canada or the government of Ontario. The police are protecting the politicians. And the third reason is that they say some of this information could be released within the next 90 days anyway, which is a lame excuse because why don't you just turn it over then? Now, we're not just going to go away quietly. The police don't get to block us like some public street in Ottawa. They are the police force, and they are especially not above the law, although they seem to think so, especially during the convoy, arresting peaceful protesters, pepper spraying journalists, and shooting others with pepper spray canisters at close range with riot-controlled guns. So I guess the police in Ottawa, with their authoritarian bully of an interim chief, Steve Bell, knowing they got away with so much already, thought they could just get away with withholding information too, but they're not gonna.
Chief, can you kindly explain how it was that my colleague to my right here, Alexa Lavoie, was shot point blank with a tear gas canister, doing some very painful damage to her? What was the reason for that, given that she was simply practicing journalism in the public square?
So I'm unfamiliar with the incident you're speaking of. What I can tell you is that there is complaint mechanisms, there is review mechanisms that will be engaged following this for any use of force incident that occurred. I'll also say that it's been my observations and experience through the amazing extensive journalism coverage that's occurred through this, that the vast majority of our members have been extremely professional. They have
We are appealing and we will win. In fact, we just won an appeal last week against the CBC for improperly withholding records about convicted al-Qaeda terrorist Omar Khadr's appearance on one of their TV shows. The same will be true of the Ottawa Police Force. They will be accountable to the people they serve, and they will have to show us what they said and to whom. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. We are going to appeal the Ottawa Police Force's denial of the records we asked for, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take research, and it's going to take money. If you'd like to help us offset those costs, please make a donation at rebelinvestigates.com.